Life's going to pull you down, but you got to stand right back up. You're going to have to put in the hard work. You're just going to have to expect it and just push through it and do something about it. Because if you do something, you can look back and say to yourself, yeah, I did that. Anything is possible. If I can make it through 2 strokes and having to go through rehab twice in 1 year, anyone can do it. It's determination. Never give up.
Hey everyone, this is Rod Cade and welcome to Season 3 of Rocket Motivation. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Gat Creek, a furniture manufacturer designing and building beautiful and lasting wood furniture, all done in the United States of America. Visit gatcreek.com. At the age of 16, this week's guest was living his life and out of nowhere suffered a large hemorrhagic stroke, resulting in life-threatening brain swelling. Following multiple surgeries and weeks of inpatient and outpatient rehab, this week's guest made a great recovery, but only a short time later, he suffered a second stroke, a devastating stroke that left him paralyzed on his right side. After more weeks of intense therapy, he had recovered enough to start putting his life back together. He presently has some aphasia, some short-term memory issues, and some residual physical issues, but overall he has made an incredible recovery. Brady, welcome to Rocket Motivation.
Thank you for having me.
As a bonus, we also have his mom on the show today, Leslie Hedge. Thank you so much for being here also.
Thank you for having us.
So Brady, let's start with you. All right, so kind of tell us where you are in your life now. You know, how old are you, what you do, kind of what's going on in your life?
Well, right now I'm 19 years old and I'm official a senior at Daphne High School, and hopefully on August I'll be going back to Bayside and graduating with the class of 2022.
All right, that's awesome. And we're going to get to that later when we talk about what your plans are. But let's go back to January of 2019. All right, you're 16 years old. You're a high school student. Your life's going good. And then you suffer this massive stroke with your brain swelling. So first of all, can you remember anything from that time?
The only thing I can remember was the video that my dad made to me trying to say hi to my brother who had a baseball game. But most of my memories or events, I can't remember it.
Right. And then I know you were at USA Medical Center, I think for about 5 weeks, and you had 3 surgeries, to help with the swelling of your brain. You started physical therapy. Then you went to Shepherd's Rehab in Atlanta. That was some intense therapy, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't you, if you can, tell us what you remember about that, the intensity of the therapy at Shepherd's and kind of what you did.
Well, most of it was just like, I'm a patient there. I was like, I'm not a person. I'm just a patient, kind of. And they would just be like, all right, let's go. And they wouldn't really deal with the emotional effects on my mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So you're there at Shepherd's, you're just feeling like a number.
Yes. And I was broken down.
Yeah.
I was not happy.
Well, tell us about that. So, you go to physical therapy each day, and, I remember back when, when I was 15 and I broke my neck and I was I went down there every morning, physical therapy, occupational therapy. And so, I kind of know what it is. So you get there and they just do this, do that. And
yes,
not much emotional or connection to the therapist.
Not really. Not at Shepherd's, at least.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, so tell me about this. All right. So you're in there. I know your goal is to get yourself to improve yourself physically so you can get out of there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's driving you at this point?
Determination to where I can graduate and go forth and follow my dreams.
And I know when the stroke hits, you're in high school, things are going good, and so this takes you completely out of where you are in your life. Yes. And so you're in there thinking, look, I got to bust it so I can get back and do what I want to do. How hard was that, the physical part of it, when you're trying to get your body working again? How hard was that?
It was pretty hard because I lost most paralysis on my body because the hemorrhagic affected everything. I couldn't walk without a belt and my physical therapist on his hands with me. It was terrible.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the support you got from your family, and this is why you're at Shepherd's the first time. I would guess that had a lot to do with you, with your attitude and your desire.
Yeah, I was not happy when I was at Shepherd's. For most parts, I can't remember most events, but I can just remember fades of the events. But I can still remember that my parents have helped me so much through it.
Right. So Leslie, let me ask you this. I mean, so, being Brady's mother, so you see your son who has this stroke, he goes through these surgeries, the intense rehab, kind of take it through what emotionally is going on with you and how it affects the whole family.
Emotionally, it was very, very difficult to watch your son, who had been perfectly healthy all his life. We had no idea there was anything going on inside his brain. And for all of that to be taken away and to watch him not even be able to do just the simplest task of feeding himself or brushing his teeth without help was really hard, because it was almost like he was a baby again, but in a 16-year-old body. It was physically demanding, emotionally, it was just very hard. We just kept hanging on to hope.
Right. And I guess it's, and based on what you said, that you start setting, I would guess, small goals, and you want to reach those goals each day. And as a family, you're thinking, okay, good, here we got this one. Now we got to get to the next one. I mean, is that kind of how it went?
Kind of. I think we just tried to stay positive and celebrate every little positive step towards recovery that he accomplished. For instance, I'll never forget the first time he brushed his teeth by himself. I took a video. I guess that's what moms do. And we just celebrated that day that was one more thing that he could do independently. That was always something that I think Robert and I feared, was him being able or not being able to gain back independence for himself. And so everything that he did, every day that he got stronger, we would just try to focus on that day and celebrate each step towards recovery, where it would be maybe one day he could only possibly walk, I don't know, maybe 10 feet. And the next day it might be 12 or 15 or whatever that was. But each little step, we would just try to focus on that and not dwell on how far he needed to come.
But getting to the end, and this is before he has the second stroke, I mean, wouldn't you say Brady's, and I'm going to ask your mom because I'm not going to ask you how remarkable you are to your face, but wouldn't you say, I mean, his recovery was remarkable given that massive stroke he had, wasn't it?
It was incredible. I don't think many people could believe how far he had come in such a short period of time, given the amount of damage that was done in his brain. It was really nothing short of a miracle.
Right. So now, Brady, all right, when the first stroke happened, all right, so you were in school. What grade were you in?
I was a junior in my second semester.
Okay. And what was your plan at that time? What was your future looking like for you?
I was scheduling college visits, going to be getting ready for the ACT, and also just finishing up doing well.
All right, so you get out of Shepherd's. You're starting to put your life back together after your first stroke. Then the second stroke happens. What, if anything, do you recall when the second stroke hit?
I really don't remember I don't really remember main events from that when it first happened. I just remember walking into an ambulance to UAB.
Well, so, I know you have this great recovery from your first stroke, and now you've got to start rehab all over again. At that point, what are you thinking?
I was pissed off. I was pretty pissed off and just angry.
Yeah, well, and understandably so. I mean, I guess at some point, do you have the why me moment? Like, come on,
Yes.
man. I mean, one stroke's enough, but two?
Yeah, like why would this happen?
Yeah. Well, all right. So then you get to, I think you did your second rehab at Spain up in Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this stroke left you completely paralyzed on the right side.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you've got what you kind of residual from your first, you completely paralyzed on the right side. I guess you got some hard work in front
Yes,
of you.
sir.
So how did you make it through? What did you do?
Just the determination to get home to where I don't need a nurse going into my room, giving me the food and handing out my medicine, to where I can do it on my own.
And I have a little bit of experience with this because you and I have talked, and I was paralyzed from the neck down, and so I had to have people feed me, bathe me, do everything for me, and I know exactly where you're coming from. That's really not what you want. You want to get to where you can do it again. I mean, tell me about the work you put in to get there.
It was really my amazing physical therapist at UAB. They would much more emotionally support me and help every patient that was there. They would help them.
It sounds like at UAB, did you look forward to going down there to be with your therapist and work?
I mean, I wasn't excited for any of the places to go, but I was more happy. I was more satisfied with UAB.
Yeah, right. Well, I would just think, because I can look back at mine. I mean, my main physical therapist, of course, I was only 15 when I broke my neck. I remember her name to today is Becky Pedraza. And I tell you, I bonded with her. I had such a bond that when she was out one day, I mean, I was like, I'm not going to work with anybody else, so I'm just going to go back up to my room. That's how close I got. But it sounds like at least though at Spain, I mean, you did like your physical therapist.
Yes.
You probably performed a little better knowing that you're working with somebody you like versus being a number.
Yes.
And how many weeks were you at Spain working?
I was there from June 6th I was up there till I think the end of October, to including inpatient and outpatient.
Okay. You had the total paralysis on the right side. So when you leave Spain after, inpatient and outpatient, then tell us about your recovery. I mean, I know you can walk now. Yeah. So how did you come out of it? When you left there, what was your physical condition?
I was much better. I was able to walk better, control. And when I got home, I went back to my old gym and tried to work on doing some special things with my trainer to actually work on control and balance tests.
Right. And tell me where you are today on that point. So you work out I think you're at least 3 days a week. And do you have a trainer that you use?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you working on? What do you work on physically?
Trying to work on some strength on my arms because I still do have a little weakness on it, but it's because I've been doing so long, it's getting much better.
And so let's say you're at Daphne High School now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're taking classes.
Yes, sir.
Now, and this is another one, though. I got to bring this up because I love this. So, because this is one of my favorite places to eat. You work at Moe's Barbecue in Daphne.
Yes, sir.
And what do you do there?
I cook, I clean, all that kind of stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. Why is it? I mean, because I know your parents, and I think if you just said, I don't want to work, they'd probably give you some money to do some stuff. I mean, you're choosing to do this. What is it about you that makes you want to go out and work?
I don't like asking for money. Every now and again, I'll ask my dad if I can get some money for gas or whatever. But usually I try to save some money for my stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Well, but what is it about? I mean, it sounds like to me you got somewhat of an independent streak going.
I like to be independent. I'm only going to be home for another year and a half before I leave for college. I need to learn how to take care of myself. And
I think your goal, you were at Bayside Academy when you had your first stroke, and I know you've been at Daphne taking classes. So your goal is to return to Bayside and graduate from there?
Yes, sir. And actually, I am officially finished with Daphne High School. So we got to sign the contract and go back to Bayside. We'll see him in August.
Okay, so will you be a senior?
I'll be officially a senior because I broke up my senior year into 2 years because it finished off with I took 3 credits out of 3 classes at Daphne, and then I have to take 3 more at Bayside to get 3 more credits to graduate.
Okay, and so your plan is to graduate this coming, I guess, next spring?
Yes, sir.
But now let me go back. Speaking of Bayside, all right, so I know you were invited to speak at Bayside's graduation last year.
Yes, sir, with the class of 2020.
All right. Tell us, what was your message to the graduates?
Just work hard. It's determination. Never give up. Anything is possible. If I can make it through 2 strokes and having to go through rehab twice in 1 year, anyone can do it.
Man, I mean, that's a great message. If the students sitting out in the audience didn't get something from that, then they're just not going to get anything from anything. Yeah. Well, let me ask you. So your goals now, college, career. Yes, what do you want to do?
I'm going to be a music therapist. Like when I was at UAB and Shepherd's, they had music therapy, and I love music. It's so much fun.
All right. What do you play?
I play the tenor saxophone, the guitar, and piano.
I mean, how often a week do you play?
Every day.
Every day. Now, do you sing?
A little bit. I've sing before. When I played the guitar, I'll play some old school country songs like Johnny Cash, John
Yeah.
Denver.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm going to have to listen to that because I'm a classic country guy myself. Brady, what have you learned about yourself? I mean, going through everything you've been through, there's no way to say this other than, I mean, what you happen to, those are some devastating life events. Most people don't have to go through what you've done. And then on top of that, then to make this recovery like you have, you got your life on track, you got your future looking bright. Tell me about what you've learned about you through all this.
That for me, my family has helped me realize that I can pretty much do anything I need to do. Whatever I need, I go do it.
You think you've developed a little bit of a toughness?
Yes.
I think so too. Leslie, let me ask you this. I mean, what are your thoughts about, watching Brady go through everything he's gone through, his being resilient to put his life back together as a mother? Tell me about, what your thoughts are and your feelings.
He has absolutely amazed me. When I sit and think about all that was taken away from him out of the blue, like you said, he was just going, about his life, doing the things that he loved to do, and then all of a sudden he's taken out of high school, taken away from his friends, taken away from all of the activities that he loves, stuck in a hospital, not knowing what every day held, not knowing if he would recover physically, mentally. And then, the emotional aspect. I just could not imagine what he was going through and the questions that he must have. But he never asked them. He never asked, why me? Why did this happen? Why do I have to do this? Yes, he got frustrated. Yes, he was angry at times, but he never quit. Never quit. His motto that Robert came up with when he was at Shepherd, he would tell him every day, because Brady's main goal was to go home. Every day he would ask, I cannot tell you how many times because of the short-term memory loss, but he would ask constantly, when can I go home? When can I go home? And Robert would tell him every day, well, we're going to work hard and go home. Every day that you put forth hard work in your therapy is one day closer to going home. And he even wrote it on a board in his room, work hard, go home. And we would repeat that constantly. I just think Brady never took his eye off the goal. And I cannot imagine how hard that must have been.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, Brady, it's, and this is kind of a cliche, but when you've lived it, I've lived it, it's that you never know when everything's going along just right and how quickly life can change. And so, that happens. And then, you're a living testament to it. It's how are you going to react? How are you going to deal with this horrible chain of events or the situation that you didn't do anything to ask for this? It's thrust upon you. And so how are you going to deal with it? You're going to fold up or are you going to work? You're going to work.
You got to work, else you're not going to get home.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So from what you've learned and everything you've been through, all the battling you've done, getting over, the adversity in your life, what advice would you give to others who are going through some tough times?
Well, you're going to have to put in the hard work. Life's going to pull you down, but you got to tell them, you got to stand right back up. You're just going to have to expect it and just push through it and do something about it. Because if you do something, you can look back and say to yourself, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Leslie, let me ask you this. This isn't easy for parents to go through. I mean, it affects, not only, of course, with Brady, but your whole family life. You've got other children. That throws the whole thing into just, because I know that when he's at Shepherd's, you're up at Shepherd's in Atlanta with him. Robert's got a job, I know, but he's up there too. You got other kids. What advice would you give to parents who have something devastating happen to their child where it completely uproots your life?
That's really tough because you don't go through something like this without the entire family being affected and devastated by it. I think my faith in God is the absolute center. That's where I had to center myself, and that is how I got through it. I think remembering to always be considerate of your other family members, keeping them in the loop, letting them know what's going on when you need help. It's so easy, I think, especially for myself anyway. I tend to want to cocoon and isolate myself if I'm going through something really hard. But I knew that wasn't the best thing for my family. So I think just trying to keep everyone involved, keep everyone up to date with what's going on, and letting them know how they can help. Because I think, especially for our other children, they didn't know what to do. They felt very helpless. And there wasn't really much they could do, so to speak, especially when he was out of town. But I think just, like I said, keeping in touch with them and keeping them knowing what's going on, and that we're still a family, still focus on trying to keep us all together, even though we're separated physically, just trying to keep the connections open.
Right. So we always do the last parting shot. So I always give my guest the last word. And so, Brady, we're going to do a little different this time because we got two of you. So, Leslie, kind of tell the listeners kind of what's on your mind that you would like to say that we haven't already talked about.
Really, I'd like to reiterate the fact that you asked me, what got us through, I guess, when Brady was going through all of this. And it's really about not isolating yourself. I think what I would like to say, and for people to take away from this as a parent, it's hard to accept help. You feel like you don't want to be a burden to anyone. You don't want to feel like you're bothering people. But at some point, we realized we needed help or we were going to sink. And we had an outpouring from our community, not only from our family and close friends, but people from our church, people from Bayside Academy. It was incredible the way that they really rallied around us. And it was hard to accept all of the help at first, but without them, I don't know what we would have done. And I think it kept Robert and I connected to people and kept us connected to our community and to each other. And I just think that that's very, very important.
And, it's interesting that theme, came throughout in so many different guests last season, was the old, I don't really want to ask for help. I don't want to be a burden, but it's really one of the most important things in getting through a crisis, or, getting through this. So it's interesting how that theme from season 2 and actually from season 1 has made its way into season 3. So Brady, you get the last word. Give us some final words of wisdom.
If something happens to you, you got to work hard. Nothing is free. If you put the hard work, life will reward you. But if you sit on your ass, you're never going to recover from anything.
Well, I think that's a great way to end the show. That's what Rocket Motivation is all about. Thank you guys for coming, and it's been a great show.
Thank you for having me up on this show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Brady Hedge's story is incredible. Having strokes at such a young age, but having the maturity, tenacity, and never quit attitude to improve and move forward in his life is remarkable. Next week's guest is Dr. Tracy Kugler. She will tell her story of fighting lung and brain cancer so she can keep living her great life of being a doctor and treating her pediatric patients. See you next week. Rocket Motivation partners with Gat Creek, one of America's premier wood furniture makers. Clean, timeless designs define the Gat Creek look. Their made-to-order furniture effortlessly connects with a range of styles from modern to traditional. Check out their full range of products at gatcreek.com. If you're interested in getting my book, Get Back Up, just go to Amazon and put in Get Back Up and my name, Rod Caden. It'll pop right up. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. I would really appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend. I would like as many people to hear my message as possible. Never give up and always get back up. And we'll see you next week.